Hi, I'm Amber Renee Cummings, founder of Mental Health Rebels, and this is an intro video to tell you a little bit about me. I began taking mental health meds at 12 years old. Anorexia landed me in a doctor's office where they said, "You have inherited the family crazy. You have bipolar disorder and major anxiety, and you will need to be medicated for the rest of your life." I 100% believed that diagnosis and went on to live out that destiny. I was a crazy person. I was an alcoholic. I also smoked. I smoked marijuana, and I had an eating disorder. I struggled with hyperventilating panic attacks. I had horrible, disaster, abusive relationships. I was in and out of the hospital, and I had 2 suicide attempts. I know what it means to experience severe mental suffering. And I felt like I was a victim of my moods and my mind, that I could be okay at one moment and then I could just spiral out of control and have an absolute meltdown. And I would scream and yell and cry and need to lock myself in my room for days on end. And I wasn't well. It was after my second suicide attempt where I was like, this is really not working. And I remember talking to my doctor saying, like, I've had 2 suicide attempts on this medication. Like, how can you say that it's working? And he was like, well, you seem to be tolerating it okay. Like, maybe you should just give it a little longer. And I'm like, I don't know, I could die. You realize that, right, doctor? Um, I did not go off my meds at that time, but that was when I really started looking for other options and just had this feeling like there has to be more. Like, this cannot be the way I'm going to live for the rest of forever. It was yoga that was my healing gateway. And in that second suicide attempt, I hurt my left shoulder, and then I also just had a left hip surgery. And I basically lost the use of the left side of my body for like 6 months. And that, I mark that as my lowest point in life. And during that time, I was working from home, I was alone, and it was just me in that teeny tiny apartment with my cat and my demons. And I had to really look at myself. And I realized, like, I had been horrible to myself my whole life. I just hated myself. And no one can thrive if the only voice, the most important voice that you hear, your voice, is constantly berating you, saying, you're a failure, you can't do it, like, you're worthless, you deserve to die. Of course I wasn't doing well. And I promised myself, I said, okay, Amber, I am so sorry for how awful I have been to you. I promise that I'm going to start taking care of you. And that moment, that was the start of my healing journey. That was in January of 2017. And from that moment, I began to heal. Once I was taking care of myself, like, I couldn't stay up until 2 in the morning drinking bottles of wine and smoking cigarettes on my couch watching TV. I mean, that's just not healthy. That's not taking care of yourself. So I had to clean up my act on like a physical level, dealing with my habits, things like that. But I also had to clean up my act on an emotional level. I needed to start editing that internal voice. And I also had to set boundaries. I was working a job that like was a high paying corporate job that looked good on the outside, but it was super stressful and it did not respect me as a human being at all. I tried for quite some time to say no and put down boundaries, and I eventually was just like, I can't do this anymore. Taking care of myself looks like not showing up to this job anymore. And I had this life that like looked good on the outside, where I had plenty of money and a nice shoe collection, a little commuter car, and I would go out to fancy dinners with my girlfriends. And like, by worldly standards, I mean, I wasn't wildly rich or anything, but I was abundant, you know? But I was so unhappy. It just felt vapid. It was like, it's just stuff. Who cares? I want relationships and experiences. That's what I value. And using that, once I decided and realized what I really wanted, and that became my guiding light, like, I had to quit that job. I ended up throwing a total bomb in my life. I quit my job, I sold all my things, I said goodbye to my friends, and I went to Bali for a yoga teacher training. And when I got there, I was really emotional. Like, that was a lot of change to experience. And I had like a spiritual awakening experience. I began seeing things and having visions during meditation and having these really vivid dreams and seeing my chakras and lights and gods and goddesses. But I also was having hyperventilating panic attacks and couldn't breathe. And it was very intense. Eventually, for me, I had to drop out of the yoga teacher training. I had spent a lot of money on it and gone really far to do it. But self-care at that point in time for me looked like saying, I can't do this. I'm just not in conditions. I was like, I've already given up an entire life in the Bay Area. I mean, what is a certificate of completion at this point? I left the yoga teacher training and I went and just spent like 2 weeks crying in the jungle and praying and being with myself and communing with the gods and the goddesses. And that was when I started chanting. And that was extremely transformational for me. I'm not the only one who preaches that having a connection to the universe is super healing for our human souls. There is something inside of us that longs for connection and that knows there is a divine out there. And finding that in our lives is really important. I don't think that we have to be religious in order to be spiritual and feel connected to the all, to the universe. So after Bali, I wandered around for a little bit and I arrived in Mexico City, which is where I still am to this day. I've been here almost 4 years now. And I met a woman named Paola Ambrosi Sanchez, and she's a transpersonal therapist as well as an amazing, talented shaman. I started doing therapy with her and she was like, Amber, I don't think you need to be taking all of these meds. Like, you've been doing a lot of work. You're well. It's like, I don't know. That's really wild. Like, I still did not believe that it was possible for someone like me to be without meds. And I strongly believe there is no doctor in the United States who, having heard my mental health history, would have suggested that I go off meds. Like, I needed to leave my country and come here to Mexico in order to have somebody even consider it as a possibility for me. She continued pushing for a couple months. And finally I was like, well, I mean, I might as well give it a try. Like, those meds will still be there. I can always go back. So I tapered off my meds, and unfortunately, I really didn't know what I was doing. I did a quick taper, 6 weeks, and I tapered off 3 meds. At that point in time, I was taking Wellbutrin, which is an antidepressant, Lamictal, which is a mood stabilizer, and Klonopin, which is a benzo tranquilizer. And I had been taking Klonopin for 18 years daily. It's a pretty heavy duty med, and I just underestimated how difficult it would be to detox off that. And I wasn't working with a doctor, which I think is a big mistake and something I would say don't do. I experienced extreme withdrawal symptoms. My bones ached, my muscles hurt, I was dizzy, I didn't sleep, I didn't have my period for 4 months, I got really, really depressed. It was kind of ugly for a little while, but after about 6 months, I started feeling like myself again. I started feeling a lot better, and after like 9 months, I was like, wow, I feel better than I even thought was possible for someone like me, because despite the fact that I was doing like okay at the point in time when I detoxed off my meds, like meds tap us down. They literally shut off pieces of our brain. And so when I finally stopped taking all of the meds, like, I began sleeping for the first time in my life. I had full access to who I am, to my full emotional range, my full mental capabilities. And all of a sudden, all of this energy work that I had been doing for all of these years, like, it had a place. It was like, I know how to regulate my nervous system. I am not a victim of my moods. I actually know how to calm myself down. I know because I've been meditating for 2 years. I know what to do when I have a panic attack because I've learned breathing techniques. I was so excited and impressed with my own self, but I was also angry. I was angry. It felt like the Truman Show, where he like wakes up one day and realizes that he's been living in this constructed world and everything is a lie. Like, that is how I felt. I was like, my entire life, I was medicated for 22 years. For 22 years, people told me that I was fundamentally broken and needed all of these drugs in order to be okay. And that was a lie. And that is a big reason why I have founded this company, because I want you to know that you are not fundamentally broken and you don't have to take all of those meds. I think that there are very few people who are so broken that they need to be heavily medicated. And sure, meds can help us get through a difficult time. Like, they have a place. I'm not villainizing the meds. It's not their fault. It's our medical system. Like, it's not okay to put someone on drugs at 12 years old and be like, that's your destiny. I was never broken. I just didn't get taught any coping skills. I didn't get taught how to regulate my nervous system. I didn't believe that I was okay. I mean, a lot of what happens is our reality, what we believe manifests. We create that. And now I realize that I can create a life where I am sane and well and healthy. And so I talk a lot about real healing here, and like, what does that mean? To me, real healing means, in the mental health context, that I no longer identify in any way, shape, or form with having mental health illness. I am not depressed. I don't have mania. I don't have anxiety. I don't have depression. And if you took me to a doctor and the doctor talked to me and evaluated my life, there is no doctor at this point who would say that there's anything wrong with me. I'm totally fine. Sure, I still have some things that I'm working on. Like, I'm still a human being and I still have rough days. And, tragedy is part of life. Like, I will go through ups and downs, but now I can weather those storms with grace because I have the proper tools. Since this is a video about me, I'm going to tell you a few more little fun facts. I have a Pisces sun, which is like my mystical, cosmic connection, transcendental self that arrives here luminous and glorious and ready to guide you and feel your spirit. And then I have a Virgo ascendant, and that is my organized part. I spent like 20 years working in tech companies and ad agencies. Many of those years I was a project manager, and then I went on to become a conversion optimization consultant, which might sound wildly unrelated to what I'm currently doing, which is mental freedom coaching, but it's not, because I'm an optimization expert, and I may not be optimizing websites anymore, but I am optimizing your mental health project. And with all of those project management skills, I treat this like a project. This is not talk therapy where you sit and just continue talking for years and years without an end goal in sight. No. This is a project where we are working to liberate your mind, and it's not meant to be for forever. Like, I want you to work with me for 6 months or a year and feel amazing and mentally well and ready to be on your own 2 feet and go out and eat the world and just enjoy it so deeply, right? That's the goal. So if you do choose to do coaching with me, some of the things that we will work on is mindset work. We have a lot of societal programming that we have to break down and reconstruct and decide what really works for you, what you want, what lights you up, what makes you happy, and follow your bliss. That's part of claiming your life and taking responsibility for everything, for your mental health journey, and saying, hey, I know me better than all of the doctors and all of the therapists, and better than Amber, and managing it yourself and deciding what is right for you. I also work with you on accepting divine perfection and being able to flow with ups and downs, because challenges are just part of the human package. And so we have to be able to roll with it when things are difficult. I think that's the real test, right? It's easy to be luminous and glorious when life's giving you roses, but when things get really difficult, how do you respond? Those are the moments that show us what we're made of, and those are the opportunities. I mean, that's when you get the chance to rise from the ashes like the phoenix. I 100% feel that I had a massive journey where I went from the lowest of low points and had to completely be reborn and transform and become a very different person. I am nothing like the human being who tried to kill herself in 2016. And we'll also work on joyful living, setting goals and figuring out how to achieve those for you, finding a life purpose that makes you excited, that makes you want to get out of bed every morning. We'll also do energy work together. We'll make sure that you have a daily practice that you really love doing and that you're able to commit to and show up for. We'll make sure that you have coping skills and that you're integrating and processing events in a way that helps promote your growth. on a day-to-day, week-by-week, year-by-year basis. And finally, if you are interested in doing meds detox, I can accompany you in that process. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you tapering suggestions or dosage advice, but I can offer you holistic healing, wisdom, and coping tools. And I can help you understand what's going on in your body and how to survive that and thrive through that. Going through mental health meds detox is actually a big opportunity. Your brain chemistry is changing, and you have the chance to rewire your brain to be the brain that you want it to be, so that you are your best self, so that you're functioning the way that you've always dreamed possible. It's time to make it a reality. Working with me does not mean you have to go off your mental health meds whatsoever. Like I said, it was years between the point when I started looking for holistic healing and other answers, and then like 2 years later, I felt strong enough to finally detox off of all of my mental health meds. So I just want you to know that if you're interested in simply exploring holistic healing while you're still taking meds, that's perfect. I honor and respect every part of your journey, and I will not push you. I am only here to present options, because during my journey, I really didn't realize that this was possible. And so I'm hoping by sharing my story and creating this company to evangelize that mental freedom is a possibility. And you get to choose what you want to do with that information, because it's your life. And you are a stunning, sovereign being who, deep inside of your heart, has all of the answers. And I honor you. Thank you so much for listening to this video. And if you are interested in working with me, you can claim your free consultation, and we'll talk about your situation, your own personal situation, in greater detail together. I would love to meet you. Be well.